if you can allow yourself to go there and you can allow yourself to sit with the notion that you only have one life, that you only get one shot, that your shot is very finite, and that when it's over, it's over. If you can sit with that and let that sink in, your life becomes powerful. Welcome to the Women Inspired Podcast, brought to you by Modern Well, a beautiful woman-centered collaborative workspace in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm your host, April Seifert, psychologist, entrepreneur, and self-proclaimed life experience junkie. Each week, I will introduce you to a different woman who is succeeding and inspiring others in one way or another. We'll dive into her story, her successes, failures, and the lessons she has learned along the way, all with the goal of inspiring you to listen to that inner voice who keeps reminding you that there is something you want to take action on. You are so much more capable and powerful than you give yourself credit for. Inside of you is a woman on fire. Let's let her out and see what happens. Here we go. Friends, welcome back to the Women Inspired Podcast. My name is April Seifert, and I am your host. Now, if you have been following me either on the podcast or on social media, you have heard me speak so much about the concept of life design lately. Basically, the concept of life design is something that I have been applying to my own life for a number of years, and it's something that I've started to turn into an actual set of tools and techniques and really frame up in a more rigorous way over the last couple of years. I've been slowly and quietly giving these tools and techniques away to people who have approached me after listening to certain podcast episodes or people who have reached out for help. And the transformation that I've been seeing with these people who have applied these techniques has been amazing. So I'm obviously out there spouting off so much about the notion of life design, and I realized that I have never actually done a good job of talking about what it is. So today I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this supplemental episode. Happy Friday, by the way. I wanted to spend a little bit of time today talking about what life design is. Now, today, if you like what you hear, if you think this sounds interesting, I want you to know that I am offering a absolutely free webinar in the first 2 weeks of January. There's actually 4 different dates and times that I'm offering the exact same live every time webinar that is going to start using some of these tools and techniques that I've been developing. So specifically in that webinar coming up, you'll be going through a life blueprinting exercise that incorporates the field of design thinking, so some really cool tools and techniques from that field, along with some really cool things from psychology, from the field of psychology, which my background is in. And when you combine those things together, it becomes a very, very powerful set of tools and techniques that you can really use to transform your life. So if you are interested at all in learning and actually getting a hands-on intro into what life design is, that is the perfect time to do it. If you head over to aprilseifert.com/webinar, you can register for a webinar, pick the date and time that works best for you. And what I'll say also, this is my first foray into doing these webinars. I'm pretty sure by the time that comes around, I'm going to figure out how to record this webinar. And so I'm going to have a replay available. Chances are I'll be able to send that replay out to folks who aren't able to make it. I don't say that because I'm asking you to sign up and then not show up. It'll be more fun to be there live. You'll be able to ask questions. We'll be able to engage in the chat, that type of thing. But if you're really interested and you just can't make one of those 4 times work, sign up anyway. The worst that happens is that you're not able to attend, but best case scenario, I figure this whole webinar software thing out and I'm able to send out a replay. So at least you can go through and do the exercise yourself, even if it's not live. All right, aprilseifert.com/webinar. You can sign up and really get a hands-on introduction into life design. So today, to dig in, what I want to talk about is the concept of life design and what it is. I just wanted to do a short episode on this to give you an idea of the way that I think about this concept and how I'm putting these tools and techniques together and where this all came from in the first place. So why don't we start there? In the world of product development, there is this notion of human-centered design. And I want you to think of some of the products that you love the most. So think about the product that rides around in your hand or your pocket or your purse all day, every day. I'm talking about your smartphone. That is one product to keep in mind. Another one, Tesla. Holy cow, like the car of the future is here today. The Tesla, very beloved product, especially by people who drive one. And then the Instant Pot. That thing came out of nowhere and it does everything. And it makes like the best food in no time. And people are like dogmatic about their Instant Pot. There is like a cult following to that product, actually to all three products. And the reason why products like that can come to exist is because the people who create them follow something called human-centered design. So let's talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about what the heck that has to do with life design and the stuff that I'm going to be doing on this webinar. So in the concept of human-centered design, those first two words are important: human-centered. You start, and designers of these products, the very first thing they do is they start with the humans who are going to be using the products, and they intimately get to know those people. Who are they? What's their demographic? What are their goals? What are their barriers? What are the challenging points of their day that we might be able to help with? What are things they enjoy doing? What are things they hate doing? What the heck did they eat for breakfast? I mean, we're talking like an intimate knowledge of the people who will be using these products. And they use that knowledge in order to design a product specifically for the people that they have in mind. So the reason why busy moms, for example, with lots of kids and households to run and work to do and all the things, the reason why they love the Instant Pot is because they are the ones that the designers of that product had in mind when they started creating that product. They needed delicious food that was fast, that was healthy and easy to make, and they designed it specifically for the people who would be using it. From there, there's another notion that I want to hit on, and that is this notion of testing and iterating. Now, think back to the first quote-unquote smartphone you ever had. It did not look like the smartphone that you carry around today, right? What are we on, like the iPhone 10 some letter? I don't know. I'm not cool. I don't have the newest iPhone, but whatever it is, we're on the iPhone 10 something or more. That means there have been 10 iterations that you've seen of the iPhone, and probably thousands more that have happened behind the scenes as Apple, in this case, is putting out its best product, its most viable product at the time. So sometimes in product development, you hear this being called an MVP, minimum viable product. They chuck that out there and they get people to start using it. And then they see what people love, which aspects of it do they adore, and they start to push more into those aspects of the product. And then they start to listen to what aspects people hate and where are there still remaining friction points. So something I want to mention here before we go, because we're about to turn the corner into what the heck this has to do with you and your life, they don't put a perfect product out there. They put a minimum viable product out there and they start to iterate on it. Where is it working? Where is it not working? How do we throw gas on the stuff that is working? How do we tame down, change, eliminate, whatever, the stuff that's not? And from there, they iterate and they iterate and they iterate until they've developed a product like the Instant Pot that people are absolutely in love with, and blogs spring up around this one weird cooking contraption and the cult following begins. Now, what's neat about that is if you think about that process, it totally applies to your own life, except it's more simple. Your life only has one human at the center of it. That human is you. Now, yes, you might have a spouse or a partner or kids or friends or family or other people that you engage with in your life, but they have their own lives. You are the only human at the center of your own life. So from that framework, or from that starting point, you can see or start to see how this process of product design could be applied to your own life. So let's run back through that process. Getting to know the humans who are users, getting to know the humans who are at the center of the product. There's only one human at the center of your life, and it's you. So with brutal honesty, I talk about this on the podcast all the time, the type of honesty that comes from 3 glasses of wine and your inhibitions being completely down, and you're totally honest about the fact that you hate things that you feel like you have to pretend that you like when you're, trying to save face and whatever in public. Brutal honesty is a complete asset when you're going through the life design process. And also self-awareness. Being able to wade through sort of gray areas and diagnose, I know I said that, I didn't like that person. What was actually going on is I was jealous of them and I want what they have. That's a very self-aware thing to say. So getting to know yourself, and by that I mean your goals, your desires, how do you want to feel each day, your strengths and your weaknesses, and your values, and being honest about all of those things and self-aware enough to figure them out. That is the very first most important step. And from there, you can start to design around that person. How do you design your life to align with a person whose goals are these, a person who desires to feel this way, a person who has these strengths and these weaknesses and these values? How do you start to design your life and the activities in it and the people in it and the way you spend your time and your job and your hobbies and your everything else? How do you start to design that around that person? Just like the Instant Pot was designed around working, busy moms. And the cool thing is there's this awesome field called design thinking. And this field it's a set of techniques that help you think in different and innovative ways. It helps spark creativity and innovative thinking. And by the way, the activities and techniques within this framework are so fun. They're really, really fun to do because of what it does to your brain. It causes your brain to operate in a different way than it's typically used to operating day in and day out, and you get different output as a result. So you take human-centered design and you throw the design thinking process on top of it, and it gets to be so cool. It gets to be really cool. You spark new thinking and you're able to see your path forward in a much different, clearer, more innovative, creative way. Now that's the beginning of the design thinking process, but all of that hinges on 2 beliefs. There are 2 beliefs that you have to have in order to, as a foundation, in order to build all of the rest of this on. And those beliefs are these. Number 1, you probably know where I'm going to go. The belief about radical responsibility, that you absolutely are in control and you are responsible for where you go from here. You are 100% responsible for 100% of the situations you find yourself in, meaning you're not necessarily to blame or at fault for what got you here, but you are responsible for where you go from this point. If you can accept that, or even just suspend your disbelief for a moment, long enough to go through this life design process, your life can change. And the second thing is, you have to believe that it's worth it for you to spend time, spend energy, spend, creativity and just your, mental aptitude, that it's worth it for you to spend your time on that. And this is something else that I'm insanely passionate about. And you guys know this. I harp on this all the time, almost every episode that I have. If you listen to episodes 39 and 40, you heard me tell my own story about how my dad passed away when I was 11 from colon cancer, and how that was my first introduction into the concept of mortality and the fact that, oh my God, my dad, who I used to see every day, he's gone. And he didn't see me graduate from high school. He didn't see me graduate from college, and he didn't see me get my PhD. He also didn't walk me down the aisle or dance with me at my wedding. We did shoot off some massive fireworks in his honor, by the way. But he didn't dance with me at my wedding, and he hasn't ever met his 2 granddaughters. Mortality is a big pill to swallow. But if you can do it, if you can allow yourself to go there, and you can allow yourself to sit with the notion that you only have one life, that you only get one shot, that your shot is very finite, and that when it's over, it's over. If you can sit with that and let that sink in, your life becomes powerful. You become powerful. Your relationship with fear, your relationship with other people's judgments and opinions, it changes. It comes into alignment that your ability and your responsibility to design the experience that you want to have, it is one of the most important things that you can possibly do. It's some of the most important work that you can possibly do. Because ultimately, all of us are going to get to the end of our lives and we're going to have a list of things in our hands. And that's either going to be a list of things that we did, that we are so proud of, that we experienced, and that we got to do in our lives because we set up the circumstances to make those things more likely, and we went after them even though we were terrible at it in the beginning. Oh my God, look up my marathon times. I'm awful at it. Follow me on Peloton. I'm terrible at it, but I love the experience, and that is going to be on my list of things that I did. I did endurance events because they were fun, and I had a great time doing it. You could have that list of experiences that you did during your life, or you could have a list of regrets. And when they do research on people at the end of their life, and they talk to them about the things they would have changed and the regrets that they have, there are a few that stick out that are very much related to the topic of life design. One of them is they regret not doing the things that would have made them happy. They don't regret doing things imperfectly. That doesn't make the list for almost anyone. They regret not doing things that would have made them happy. They also regret not showing up as 100% themselves. This goes back to that notion of honesty and self-awareness and aligning your life around who you truly are. They regret not showing up as themselves. And the final thing they regret is not letting themselves be completely happy. They focused on things that didn't make them happy. They focused on things that weren't ultimately important. And those are the regrets that people have. And I can't think of something that makes me more devastated feeling than people getting to the end of their life and having that list of things in their hands. So for me, the work that you put into designing your own life and aligning it around who you actually are, not who other people want you to be, not who you think you're supposed to be, but aligning it around who you actually are, that is some of the best work you can possibly do. It's some of the most important work that you can possibly do, and it is so worth it. So if you can get to the point where you believe in the notion of radical responsibility, and you believe that the work you're going to do is worth it, the life design process will crack open for you and your life can change. Now, there's another notion that, I talked about how I approach this and what my approach to it is. You could stop there and it would be incredibly powerful. And then, in fact, there are books and other programs that stop there. Where my approach changes a little bit is that, my background, if you've listened to this, my background is in psychology. I have my PhD in social cognitive psychology. I bring that background into this process because I understand that there are certain psychological barriers that keep people from taking action, that keep them from wanting to accept responsibility, that keep them from, feeling courageous enough to move forward in the way that they know would actually make them happy. There are barriers in place, things like fear, things like cognitive biases, things like self-limiting beliefs, things like issues with your identity and how those things that you want to do don't feel like they're aligned with what your identity is. So when you add the notions, these powerful pieces that the field of psychology bring to it, and you throw those on top of the life design process or the design thinking and human-centered design process, it's like throwing gas on a fire. You've all of a sudden got the clarity and the innovation and the creativity of design thinking and human-centered design with the power behind the field of psychology to help you mentally and psychologically do what you need to do. If you could do that on your own, you would have done it by now. If those barriers weren't in place, you would have done it by now. So the piece that I like to add to this is this notion of psychology and bringing the power of that field to life design itself. So when you put all of this together, you get this incredibly powerful approach that people can essentially create the life that looks, and more importantly, feels the way they want it to feel and is aligned to who they really are. Now, I hope that brief explanation gave you a better understanding of what I mean when I say life design. I mean a completely honest and a completely self-aware approach to taking responsibility of your life and creating your next steps, creating your future so that it aligns around who you really are, and setting yourself up psychologically, environmentally, socially, setting yourself up to make that more successful. That's what I mean by life design. Now, after hearing all of that, I'm going to plug it one more time. If you liked what you heard, if you're at all interested in what you heard, you have nothing to lose and you have your life to gain. Join me for my webinar in the first 2 weeks of January, and I'll take you through one tiny aspect of this process. We're going to do one small standalone exercise that in and of itself is powerful. It's part of a larger process, but in and of itself, it is powerful. And I'm going to take you through that exercise so that you can experience, this process of life design hands-on for yourself, applying it to your own life. And the cool thing is, once you learn how to do this, later on, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, when you're in different life circumstances, you can apply the same thing. Once you've learned this framework, you can use it over and over, right? Like teach the people to fish kind of thing. So join me for that webinar. I would love to see you there. I'm getting tons of signups, which has been really, really cool to see. So thank you to everybody who's signed up already. I can't wait to connect with you there. If you haven't signed up, you can go to aprilseifert.com/webinar to sign up. Or if you're looking at this on a mobile device or some type of device, you can likely scroll to the description of this episode and you can click on the link that I've dropped there. For most platforms, that will work as well. All right, I hope this episode helped you guys understand in a much more nuanced and clear way what I mean by life design and why I know it is so powerful and why it has been leading to such incredible transformations in other people's lives and why I absolutely cannot keep it to myself anymore. And I have to start offering this on a broader scale. So I hope to see you guys on my webinar, and I can't wait for you to see the rest of the interviews that I have coming out in the next few weeks and to connect with you guys in the new year. It's going to be amazing. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Before we close out today, I want to say thank you to my producer, Cameron Hill, and to my incredible sponsor, Modern Well. If you want to learn more about how you can reach your goals in a one-of-a-kind work-life community, visit www.modernwell.co. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit from this inspiring message. And if you have a moment, click the link in the episode description to leave me a rating and a review on iTunes. It would mean so much to me. Finally, I want to remind you that it is absolutely possible to live a happy, fulfilling life, even in spite of all of the chaos and demands we all experience. Sign up at aprilseifert.com to gain access to tools that will help you do just that. I have carefully created and curated a set of tools that combine the powerful fields of psychology and design thinking to help you intentionally create a fulfilling, happy life you love. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and until next week, stay inspired.